Well, everybody knows the Zimbabwean voice now, so that's for sure. And it's a beautiful voice, that one. One of unity, one of togetherness, one of peace, one of love, you know. That's the way forward. Oga, Oga.
So yeah, Kudzanai, thanks so much for taking the time to chat with me, bro. I really appreciate it. I know, of course, you and I have known each other. I think what Farai introduced us, my cousin Farai directly. Shout out to Farai if you're going to listen to this. He introduced us about a couple of years ago. So it's kind of cool that we get to kind of, connect again. So how are you doing? Where are you in the world right now, and what's happening?
Wow. Thanks, man, for having me. Obviously, big shout out to homie Farai. Hope his recovery is going well. Currently, I'm in Canada right now with under 20 boys. We're in Ontario at the university. So things have been going well. So far, we've played one game, and then we're just looking forward to the next one, which is Uruguay on Thursday. Yeah, that's pretty much how things have been.
Epic. And for everyone listening, I think I'll give you a chance to introduce yourself, but Kudzanai, or Kayz, as I call him, as I'll be calling him through this conversation. You are the owner of a company called Rising Stars Media, which is essentially like a media company that captures rising stars in sports and various other things in Zimbabwe. So you have, I guess, if I'm hearing correctly, you've been invited to Canada to, record the under-20s journey as they play, I think, Canada, Argentina, and Uruguay. Is that correct?
There's Canada, Chile, and Uruguay.
Chile and Uruguay. Good. Did you ever think when you started this company or Rising Stars, it would ever bring you this far?
To be honest, not even if that thought crossed my mind. Like the main thing really was to create portfolios for athletes, because I never had that growing up. I'd never had someone who just followed my journey, record me as I was playing sport. So I felt like it was a decent gap in the society, and I was like, let me just start creating profiles for people that would be looking for sports or cultural opportunities outside, and then obviously we diversified as we started growing and started engaging in other things like doing video analysis, because right now I'm doing video analysis. I code as the game is happening for the coaches. Also the videography work of creating the content, keeping the fans engaged and everything.
That's incredible. Yeah, I think when we were speaking offline, I was talking about how, well, let me tell you, when I was grade 6 and 7, I went to St. John's Prep, and almost most Saturdays in the rugby season, I would go and watch a PE game, or I'd watch a St. John's Seniors or St. George's game. Like, that's what I would do after, like, we'd go to church in the morning, and in the afternoon, we'd go and watch rugby games. And I remember, I even remember this day vividly. I remember going there and seeing Beast when Beast was at Peterhouse. I think Peterhouse were playing PE at Jubilee. And you're grade 6, these guys seem larger than life then. You're like, wow, this is Beast, oh my goodness. And then, of course, that was in high school, and then Beast went on to become who we all know as Tembo, of course, one of the best loose heads to ever play the game, But the thing is, and then before he moved to South Africa, we knew how epic he was, but there was no one who was capturing the detail and the storyline and the impact that he was making locally before he went abroad. So what kind of gave you that insight to be like, look, this is something that I think needs to be filled, because not many people are doing that, or no one's doing that right now,
So my background obviously is mainly centered on sport. Mainly I've specialized in playing hockey, but back then I used to play different kind of sports from primary school. So when I specialized in hockey, as I finished high school, I was applying obviously for scholarships and all of that. And for some reason, the 2 universities that should have given me scholarships were all asking for a video. Like they were saying, yeah, we've seen your CV, we've seen like people giving you references saying you're good and all of that, but we need to see a video. So I literally lost 2 scholarships because I didn't have a video. So I just obviously stayed in the country. I started doing sports science with NAS. I was doing long distance learning there. And I think at that time, that's when I had that idea of just saying, you know what, as much as I've lost out on an opportunity, why not start it for the people that are still probably like in Form 1 or Grade 1, Grade 2, so that their journey is just captured and who knows where they can get. So yeah, that was like the inception of the whole idea. It was just pretty much me losing out on an opportunity, and I was like, hey man, this could be something that could work for someone else.
Dude, well done for actually turning that into like your. First, I'm sorry. Dan, that really sucks that happened. Where was the school? Was it in Canada where you are now, or was it elsewhere?
It was in the Netherlands. I've actually forgotten the name.
Right.
Name of the university, but yeah, it was in the Netherlands.
Sheesh.
Yeah.
And I damn, that sucks. But I can hear their point, which is like, yeah, we can see on paper, but we want to see visually because with athletes, it's a visual. Athletes are a visual product. We want to see the potential rather than on paper, you know?
Yeah, because if you look at it, you're going into a place where there's like thousands of players, you know, like, so what makes you different? You just saying that you're good on paper is not good enough. You know, they want to see, okay, if you say you're good, we need to see your proof. And even when you send them a highlight, they might say, okay, we want to see the full game. Like, we want to see the full game. What you actually cutting and making it look good for us. So yeah, that's the power of video.
Dude, and I think also I'm really proud that you actually saw that it was something that was important. Because we all, I mean, I told you, we all go to those games, right? We all go to the games, but to see it as something that's incredible, so valuable, I need to capture it. And then also help people as a result is incredible. Are there any stories of any athletes that you've helped who have kind of gone on to, you know, use this highlights packages to then turn on, you know, get scholarships and all of these various things?
Yeah, there's quite a lot. Just to mention a few, one of them, TC, Tinashe Muchena, there's Ryan Aliam. There's a lot of them really from the top of my head, but if you go on our page, pretty much everybody we've made profiles for has actually broken through into something. Some of the videos we don't post because some universities will be like, you know, we just want it for ourselves, but then most of the stuff we've shot that's online, people have broken out and done something in their lives.
It also like puts a positive spin on this idea of, you know, how like some parents are different. Some parents are really pro sport and they push it and they invest in it, but a lot of them don't put investment in it because you don't see what it will yield. For example, I'm in the United States now, and geez, the amount of scholarships people get for sport is insane. In fact, they actually like, it's one of the most important things that they allocate money to as a budget for schools. So I think a lot of people invest in sport, even from a parent's perspective, because they know that, look, my child can even go to a really good school because I know they can get a scholarship. So in the same way, some of the work that you're doing is helping unlock that. Have you seen more parents kind of come reach out to you and kind of get on board as a result of the work that you're doing?
Yeah, definitely. Lots of parents have actually started to realize how important what we're doing is. So most of them even start working with us at an early age. We've got a couple of guys who are in grade 5, who are in primary school, who we have already started capturing content for. Because most of them would be like, why not just start from primary up until high school so we see the whole thing. And that's really amazing because you see the progression of an athlete over the years. And it's not really all about that high school break. Some, even in primary school, like from primary to high school, there are a lot of schools now that are like obviously looking out for talent.
They're recruiting. They're recruiting.
So like they can also use that visual, you know, from primary to get scholarships to go to different schools in Zimbabwe right now. So even outside the country, from primary, someone can actually go in a different country, like to start in the UK or States or SA. Yeah, it just depends how lucky you are or how your odds work out.
I don't know if you thought about this perspective around. So I was looking at some of the work and how epic it was, but then I started thinking about, like, you mentioned how you go even from junior school all the way up until, you know, high school. There are a lot of documentary. I watch a lot of sports documentaries. Have you ever thought about documentaries? Because you're literally sitting on a hotbed of. And I think, and like the better and better your videography becomes, I'm like, geez, this stuff is really good. Like, it's really, really good. Like it's really good, so good that if it had a storyline, with characters that kind of like, this could, you know what I'm saying? Like, that's powerful IP that you're saying on that.
No, definitely. So like you're saying, I feel like from the time we started, it was more like, because I started on a phone, right? Like I was just using a Samsung phone. And I was just like, I had the passion to just create videos, but I hadn't really like, really tapped into it big time. So it's been like 8 years, 9 years working into it. And like you say, we've obviously progressed, getting better and stuff. That's where you started seeing stuff like the RS Weekend Telescope happening every Monday when the school calendar started in Zim. So the whole idea for that was we saw that we're creating a lot of content, but it wasn't really packaged well. So we're like, why not just have like a little show whereby we can just package everything together and try to speak about things that we know about and things that are happening around us. But the bigger vision, I can't really say now what exactly is happening.
Did I give it away?
Like,
did I give it away?
We do have plans like to actually have something that can go international and go in theaters in terms of production wise. So we're working on that. Obviously, it's a long journey. It's not going to happen like now. For it to be really perfect, it's going to take time. Plus, when I'm working with a lot of people as well. So yeah, it's work in progress, but definitely, we on that. We're on that.
I'm telling you, I watched this show on Netflix called, I think, I used to call it's called QB1, and QB1, it follows like high school quarterbacks from across the country and their journey into their senior year, and then you've watched it, right? And then I was like, man, this is epic. But in the same light, like we have our own, we also have our own athletes who are very talented. They're not just, and if you look at Zimbabwean athletes, they aren't just talented in a Zimbabwean sense. Sometimes when you export them abroad, they don't just fit in. Often they rise to the very, very, very top of those foreign markets. I think from the rugby sense, we can think David Pocock, Beast, and many other people, Chenrai Chivanga, all of these people. So you're really capturing those people really early. And it's quite cool to kind of see their journeys beyond, when they leave. But so to kind of take it back to the beginning, let's kind of try to document, the story of Rising Star from the beginning, then in the end, I'll kind of sort of touch on your life in general. But you had this big problem. You said, oh my goodness, I just missed on a scholarship. This is the worst thing, but maybe I can try and offer to someone else so that they don't have to go through this feeling again. How did that what was the first step where you're like, okay, let me use my phone to do something for someone? What did you buy? How did you start? And how did it snowball into what it is right now?
I think I'd like to say God actually gives people visions as they're growing. And I think I'm just grateful that, I think I saw the light then. I think it was just a matter of God reflecting on what I needed to do. I really didn't know how big it was going to grow, but I just, okay, fine, let me just start doing videos. Because when I looked in the industry back then, there was a lot of people doing photography work. And I was like, let me maybe mainly focus on video as much as I want to focus on photos. I think I was more interested in doing videos than photos. Obviously, we end up trying to do everything, but my main niche was just to say, let me do videos. So yeah, I just picked up a phone and I was like, I remember this one guy was actually in Aussie right now, from Zimbabwe. We went to Arundel. He was a hockey player. He still was actually playing hockey. He's actually doing well in Australia, playing hockey full time. And I remember just being at Arundel there, just with the phone, just taking everything. I had at the time I had a Windows machine, so I was using Windows Movie Maker, which is like the default program on Windows. And man, we just made it work, chopped it up, put it out there, and it did work. Because sometimes the storyline is king. Storyline is always important. It might not be the best video, but if the storyline is making sense, then definitely anyone will relate to it. And it will even go viral. So I think I wasn't really concerned about the quality or like whether my work was the best. I was just concerned about the storyline. And that just grew from there.
So you had this phone, and then eventually that kicked where you're like, oh, hang on, maybe I'm onto something. Maybe I should then get bigger. Because right now, was it a company in the beginning, or was it just an idea? Like, let me just do this for this one client or my friend,
It was an idea for starters. Then obviously I had very good mentors that just told me, you know what, you should register it. make it official. So then, yeah, we did all the paperwork, and then I should be grateful to a lot of people that have really helped me because I really didn't have funding when I started. I've got a lot of people that backed me up, people that even gave me their own cameras, you know, their own equipment, their own tripods. Obviously, they know themselves. But yeah, there's a lot of people that have really helped me just because they saw the vision, they saw the potential that we had, and they're like, you know what, they just were planting seeds and they were just hoping that things would grow. So I think that's also one thing that kept us going because we're like, we can't let these people down, you know. So as much as we don't want to let ourselves down, we also should push for them. So yeah.
And then at what point did you think like, you know, I think we have a thing here. I think we have a thing. Because there has to be a moment where you're like this is.
So there was this day, it was a P and St. John's match, and we wanted to get the video out real quick, right? So as the game finished, I started doing the edit, but we made a mistake on the audio. The audio wasn't like going really well. But for some reason, that video blew up. It blew up crazy, eh? And then I was like sitting with my friends and I'm like, guys, so we made a mistake here, but this thing is actually going viral. So this means a lot to us, you know, this means a lot to us. I think from that day onwards, we just knew everybody wanted to see this particular type of style or this type of content. And we knew we had lots of work to do in terms of how we want to present it or how we want it to be more engaging. But I think that particular time was when, because we made a big mistake, and I'm sure if you're watching the video, you will not want to have bad audio.
Yeah, of course.
Bad picture quality than have bad audio. So yeah, I think that was a turning point, and yeah, we just kept going.
And I'm curious about how you. So I've spoken to a bunch of people that have become filmmakers or literally who create content, and they haven't really gone to school for it. They just kind of pick up a camera. Even Windows Movie Maker, I've spoken to a couple of people on this podcast itself who are like, man, I just had this idea. I had a phone and Windows Movie Maker, and that's what it was. Where do you go to? Who do you learn from? And the reason I ask is when I look at some of your guys' content, it's like it's so up close. It's like I'm there. You know what I'm saying? It's like you know, and it touches on like the nuances of I'm a rugby guys, you know, and like you know when people run through the tunnel, or when there's the bagpipes playing at St. John's, or there's the flares at St. Like it's so the details of being like, where do you guys learn that from? Is it just that intuitive, or do you guys like copy someone?
I think it's the culture that I was brought up in. Like the school that I went to from primary to high school as well. I felt like I grew up in a culture that made me realize the importance of what it means to have pride for your school. So for me, if I'm filming anything, I'd want to, if I'm at Churchill, for example, I'd want people from Churchill to engage in being like a bulldog. If I'm at John, same thing. I want people to say I'm a Ram or P Tigers, Peter House Kings, Falcon, all of those guys, even Wise Owl, any school that I'm at. If I'm in Kudzanai, same thing happens. You know? So I feel like I always want people to relate and have pride in where they came from. And that's always a challenge every time I'm filming and saying, how can I make the fan or the alumni say, you know what, let me pick up my bag, go back to school and maybe sponsor something, or maybe, you know, help out these kids, this school or like this team, whatever, you know. That's always the perspective that I have when I'm filming. So that's why you see the detailed shots of like, you know, the logos or like the horses or like kids singing, all of that. It's just to get you in that moment. And yeah, it's, we're not yet there, but yeah, we're working towards it.
Yeah, really close. Even from the war cries to the, it just takes me back. You know what I mean? It just takes you back to what it's like being at a game day. And what's also unique is that there's nowhere in the world where it's like that specifically. So I think that's of course, South Africa has a big schoolboy rugby scene, but Zimbabwe has a very different style in how it celebrates hockey and rugby, or just culture. And I think tapping into that has been something that you're doing really, really well, and are going to keep getting better at. And who is we? Of course, yeah, you started off by yourself, right? But of course, as you grow, you have to kind of expand the team out, I can imagine. who's in the team and who kind of came alongside you as you grew this thing?
So there is 4 main guys that are in the company, and we obviously work with a lot of individual people that work within the projects that we have. Depending on how big the project is, we always outsource other people, and we obviously have partnerships with different media houses. So like at a point, if say we're doing a live stream and we need 12 people to be on site, obviously we know we need to collaborate with other people because no man is an island. We just try to create those relationships, and yeah, we go like that. I don't know if you want to name specifically, but yeah.
No, it's good. If they listen to this, would they want to hear the names on the recording?
Okay, for sure.
Shout them out. Shout
them out. Yeah, for sure. Takuzo Kayz, he's actually one. Like if you follow his handle, he's amazing. The way he captures the stuff. You should check him out on Instagram. Kayz, there's Tafazu Shanakira, Nathan. Yeah, those lads.
That's the team.
They're pushing us forward every single time.
Awesome, and shout out to the guys that are listening as well, because the work they're doing is awesome. Of course, Kayz, like you're doing all this cool stuff with Rising Stars, but how do you balance time for? I know you play hockey as well for the national team. How do you balance all the content you're shooting, but then also with the national hockey team? And then how did you even get into the national hockey side as well? Like that process there. How do you balance the two, and how did you get into it?
So like any sport, obviously, there's trials that happen. They're always like scouts that are always looking out for players during the season. So yeah, there are people that are always following the journey of any player. So yeah, that's pretty much how obviously you can make it. As long as you're doing your part, being a player, you obviously get a chance to be looked out on and hopefully make the side. Balancing it has been really difficult because obviously there are times where you need to put food on the table and you're working, but at the same time you love playing sport. Like I love my hockey, and even representing my country is always an honor. So I always try my best. Whenever I am available, I try to do the work behind the scenes and also on the field, and just to make sure that I represent the best part. So yeah.
And with regards to how does, let me just put it this way. So I read a while ago that I'm not sure if it was 1994, but I think Zimbabwe women's hockey once won Olympic gold. I don't know if it's Zimbabwe or Rhodesia. Someone once won Olympic gold. I actually have to just fact check that. But the point is, we have systems for hockey in place, so much so that people won medals at the Olympics. I think gold, if I'm not mistaken. Where is it now on the men's side? Because we have all of the structures. Where is it now? And in terms of ranking level, and what's holding it back if it's not as optimal as it could be?
Ranking is definitely still work in progress, but we are going in the positive because now there's more turf fields being put out in Zim. I feel like the major thing that's been holding us back is just the infrastructure, because a lot of the times we're practicing on a different surface, and then when we start playing international matches, we have a whole different, surface, which is turf. So that was kind of like us adapting on gameplay. But now things are different in that I feel like the group that has huge potential are people in primary school right now, because they're starting playing on turf, and the time that they reach 18 or 20, surely they'll have better experience than we had, because some of us just caught playing on turf right in the middle, like after high school, whereas some countries were already playing turf from kindergarten. So I feel like the shift is going well. It's just a matter of time, but definitely our ranking is going to move up. We have a tournament coming up at St. John's. The men's will be playing Zambia and Malawi, and the ladies will be playing. There's an addition of Namibia in that, and Malawi and Zambia as well. So that'll be at St. John's from the 1st month to the 6th of September. So yeah.
But I want to figure out what keeps you in it, because I know you started the thing, right? And then you said you've been doing this 8-9 years. What was the point? You mentioned the point where you said, okay, geez, this is going viral. Like, whoa, there's something we're onto here. We need to just keep working at. What? Two questions. What keeps you in it? of course, you've built a business around it, but of course, it's a hard work, right? We can't get away from that. Creating content is a lot of work. What keeps you in it?
I feel like for some reason I just have this buzz of just wanting to create something new every single time and keeping people engaged. So like I feel like I get excitement from just creating content. Like just the process actually keeps me engaged. I think I love the process of just, you know, creating the visual, creating you know, the ends of the whole thing, the production cycle, but also I feel like it's also a way to create employment for a lot of people as well, because obviously it's just not me who wants to be in this. I know a lot of other people are definitely wanting to be part of such media houses. Sometimes it's really hard to get in other media houses, you know, so we try to make it easy. We try to make it relatable to guys that are still in school. I mean, like right now we have a lot of guys that are leaving school that are applying and want to be part of the system. And that's a great thing because already they're seeing the value of wanting to be part of the structure. And it's not really about just shooting videos. Even people that do writing, you know, journalism, because media is just not shooting. It's all about also guys that write articles, because that's also one area we want to get in, because there's some areas that don't have internet, areas that don't even have Wi-Fi. So we're like, okay, how can my work get to those areas? You know, so you need articles, maybe a newspaper that can go to those areas. So yeah, lots of things that really keep it intact. And yeah, I think that's just the driving force to, you know, to create something big for everyone that will come through and also be part of the system.
And was there ever a day where you said, you know, I'm done? Because
bro, I'll be honest, it hasn't been an easy journey, like especially where we come from. Like for some reason, as much as people support you, sometimes there's some people that really want to see you fail, you know, and people that don't want to see you go forward. And I feel like as you go on your journey, you end up developing just thick skin to just go through the negativity that you might face, you know, everything that might be, people that might be trying to bring you down, people that might be fighting the system. So it hasn't been easy, to be honest, because, you know, as much as people see the potential, some people would be like, you know, we don't want this company to go there. We don't want this company to go there. But, you know, God is for us all. Sometimes, you know, if God says yes, no man can say no. So we just keep pushing, and we know for a fact that for some reason, the negativity that we might face, just obviously some of it is positive criticism. Let me be honest, it might be positive criticism, but it just drives it forward. So has there been a point that made me feel like I should stop? Definitely not. It was just maybe adversity, but it comes and goes. But yeah,
comes with the territory.
Unfortunately,
with anything great, when you're trying to build anything great, there will always be people who try and tear it down.
Yeah.
And it sucks that it works that way, but that's just the way it is, unfortunately. You know?
Yeah.
But you know, kudos for that you guys keep pushing and keep getting better and getting better. To take it back, of course, there are all these positive things that are happening and all these, you know, great things that you're doing. But I'm trying to go back to, you know, Kayz, when you was a kid. What did, you know, where were you born? Where did you grow up? And what did you want to be when you were a kid?
Okay, so I was actually born in Harare, but then my family moved to the countryside. We're in Mashikode, Banket to be specific.
Yeah.
So yeah, I did my primary school there. Did a lot of sports, hockey, rugby, cricket, swimming. I was head boy when I was in grade 7. Then came to Harare, and then that's when I started my high school. So funny thing is, when I got to high school, I was in Pretoria, and then other sports were like taken up, like cricket had so many people there, I could not even fit in. Went to rugby, same story. When I got to hockey, first session, I was made captain. So I was like, hey man, why am I even fighting to I was like, why am I even fighting to go and play? You know, these are the sports. Let me just anchor here. And that was so I just, because sometimes if you're in a very big school, it's, you might play so many sports, but most people just end up doing 1 or 2 sports, and that's cool. So for me, I was happy doing just that, and also doing some clubs on the side. So that made me just settle with playing hockey and growing up like that.
So that was your, so when you were growing, so that was your thing. Did you want to be a hockey player per se, or do you even know, or not really?
To be honest, all right, my parents really wanted me to be like a doctor or like a lawyer.
Of course.
I think that's what they saw me to be like. And for some reason, I was tapping into their vision, you know, like they're like, no, you need to be a lawyer or like a doctor or like, you know, all of those things. But I turned out to be someone else. Yeah, I turned out to be someone else. Yeah.
Did you know though? Did you know what you wanted to be? Or we sometimes you don't always know, you know?
I think I was leaning to sports. I think now I remember. I was actually just saying I wanted to be a cricket player for some reason. I remember saying I wanted to be a cricketer every single time. And no, man, that didn't happen.
but did you play cricket whilst at PE or just mainly hockey?
It was mainly in primary school, big time in primary school. When I got to PE, it was very competitive. And obviously I was in the countryside, so the coaches mainly knew guys who were in Harare, because obviously it was a small circle. So those kids that were in Harare were already like taking up all the positions. So breaking into that circle of kids that were being in Harare and coming from the countryside was really hard. So it was always fighting for like number 10, 11, the cricket side. And I was like, man, what am I doing here?
Why force it? Fair enough. Do you feel like, I think a lot of where we come from influences a lot of how we operate in the world. Though you were born in Harare, you grew up, of course, initially in the countryside in Majika Day and in Blanket. Do you feel like that had a big influence around how you navigate in the world now?
Yeah, definitely. So, because I grew up in a place whereby the things that are taken for granted, like in the main cities, they're gold in the countryside. So I always knew the value of appreciating the small things. I think growing up in a farm, like for example, I was on a tobacco farm. So like you're socializing with so many different people who've come from different walks of life. And that really like humbled me at a very early age to realize that, you don't look down upon anyone, whether they're coming from, the gutter or they're coming from, a rich background, it doesn't matter. Every person should be created equal. But unfortunately, sometimes society has its own thing of segregating everyone. But I think growing up in that environment of being on the countryside really made me realize the importance of just being humble and just to appreciate the small things in life. Because I feel like sometimes we don't look at the journey, we don't appreciate the process of the journey. We always are saying, when I get this. But at times, you should actually appreciate the process and realize that, the process is actually part of the journey. So
I like that. I read this book, the Steve Jobs book, and he talked about how the journey is the reward.
Yeah.
That is the reward. Sometimes you want the shiny thing at the end of the pot of gold at the end of the rainbow, but the journey in between now and the pot of gold, that is the thing. Like that's the most important thing. And being mindful of that is what's most important. But of course, it's always important to have a shiny thing to aim towards and say, okay, that's where I want to go. With you guys and your team, what do you guys see for Rising Stars? Is there? Of course, you start off very humbly, then you realize, oh, hang on, we're actually quite good at this. Maybe there's a world in which we can do this. Because of course, there's Rising Stars, but then I saw there's Rising Stars Academy. You got like a hockey team. And then, of course, there's just a lot of different. Then you also do some community work and by. I'm like, okay, this is actually like a very multifaceted entity that has a lot of potential. What do you guys see as like the big, thing?
Yeah, so I think looking at the academy side of things, we've got a hockey club and a soccer club that's just starting. I think on that side of things, on the academy part, we want to nurture talent on grassroots level and try to, get people from grassroots, different skills of life to just get opportunities that everybody should be getting. And then on the production side of things, obviously, as much as we have our own strengths in terms of what we know we do well, we want to really be an overall production house in terms of creating content for any local or international market, and obviously featuring our products everywhere. Yeah.
You know, like there's a lot of foreign streaming wants to buy African content, so just keep that in mind as you guys create. There's a lot of stuff you can, maybe not, but you know, people are looking for content to buy. So the stuff that you guys are sitting on that could be really packaged in a particular way that could add value to not just to yourself, but to everyone involved, you know. Having an up close and in-person view, if I can call it that, to athletes, specifically rising Zimbabwean athletes, what do you think is missing from really, you know, accelerating or really helping our athletes? Because I think there's this big thing where we're extremely talented as athletes, right? But we aren't always dominant. Sometimes we here and there we dominate, but we aren't always dominant. What do you think is missing from being up close and personal?
I think we don't have the support that we should be getting. I mean, like, you don't have structures that really support any athlete. It's really difficult to be playing certain sports because you have to pay, for example, to be doing something. You have to use your own monies to be doing certain things. If you really want to be good, you have to maybe fly down to SA to get certain types of training. So if we had a supporting system in every discipline, in every sport, in any cultural activity, I think that would really help all athletes not to always be looking elsewhere to get things, or always having to pay out of their pocket to do something. Because I mean, already things are tough, and you have to pay to play or pay to get something out of your way. I think it's really difficult. So I think the corporate support, the government support is definitely needed to just help our athletes to, you know, have a hub of excelling. And we don't even have like, you know, in-house structures that can help us play sport all year round. If it's raining, sometimes we can't even do certain sports. If it's like, you know, so I feel like we need structures to build that can help us, you know, engage and move to the next level.
Yeah, because talent's there. I mean, I was watching the Canada game. I mean, you're in Canada now, and I think I know the junior under-20s Zim rugby team. They won the trophy, exactly, and then they got invited to play in Canada. And it was like obviously Canada came back in the second half, but it was pretty clear who was the better team. It wasn't a question. It was very clear, you know.
And you're looking at guys that are coming from areas of, you know, different backgrounds, and they're competing with people that have everything right in front of their table. So you look at it and you say, what could happen if resources were poured into this team or these kind of athletes? Where could we get? You know? So much potential, but the backup is what's needed now.
So structures, systems, direction, vision, funding, all of these things to tap into it.
Yeah. Because unfortunately, sorry to cut you, but unfortunately,
good.
Most of our athletes are fighting to leave the country. Like, if they're playing sports, if I go to another country, it's all good. But in other countries, they actually stay in their own country. You know, they don't even go anywhere else. They're invested there. So it's always going to be difficult, say, if there's trials happening and kids are being called from all over to come and play for Zim. It's going to be difficult because one, they're paying their own way to come. They might say, I don't have the money to come back, or vice versa. So if there was a way whereby we could always keep our athletes in the country, I don't know. I know that's just a dream, but if that could happen, that would be really perfect. I mean, it would be competitive at so many levels. So, yeah.
It's a tricky one because, and of course, you might also feel conflicted. You're like, oh my gosh, this person is doing so well. I'm making a package for them. And then he's reached out to you, like, oh my gosh, Kayz, I've got 3 scholarship offers from this school, school, and this club. And you say, sheesh, they can see it, they're funding it, but we're letting it go. And then, that person might play for Canada or might play for Netherlands or might, you know what I mean? Which is tough. And I have this analogy I always said to a friend who has, it feels like we're a factory that exports, the thing we export really, really well is talent. Like in terms of, we groom them, go to education, give some training, put them in a system, train, and then they leave ripe for the picking. And then the other countries just do like the last few touch-ups. The last 2 touch-ups, and then we just walk in at a global level and excel. And it hurts to say like, man, imagine we did all that work. And then of course they did 2 years of training and then they're benefiting off the, you know? So it's kind of finding a way to harness it and kind of retain it. It's tricky though, but it's very tricky, but it's honest.
Obviously, it's everyone will look for greener pasture. Everyone will look for greener pasture.
Of course,
so,
of course.
Yeah.
Well, you know, all you can do is your part, right? And you're doing your part to help people. I think the biggest thing that I like about your story is that you used your adversity to kind of help other people not have to go through the same thing. And then hopefully they can then pay it forward as well to someone else in some way, shape, or form. Do you know what I mean?
Hopefully.
But with regards to like what I always do to kind of bring it full circle, I touch on what I call the moment story, which is, as a content creator, you would know about storytelling. A story is made up of many acts. And to shift this moment story, I guess, for the better, what does it look like for you?
I feel like everybody has to tell their story. I think everybody has to put their story out there, and you never know who it might inspire. It doesn't matter what you're doing or where you're coming from, or whether you're shy to actually share your story. I feel like you sharing your story is going to empower someone to actually get up and do something in their life. Because I'm sure you've met so many people that will be like, hey man, ever since you started the podcast, you're inspiring me, man. You've inspired me to start something, because you never knew how many, you're sitting on it maybe for like years thinking about doing it. Now that you're doing it, a lot of people are coming to you and say, hey man, this is really dope. Thanks for putting it. So I think everybody has to stand up. Everybody has to have their name counted, because you standing up is going to raise the people behind you. And you're gonna like just shift the culture, and everybody will hear our story. We can't be getting people from abroad coming to Africa to tell our stories. We have to tell our own stories. And you know, get the voice out there every single time.
Respect that. I respect that. Kayz, thank you so much for taking the time to chat with me, my brother. I appreciate it. All the best on all your endeavors out there in Canada and beyond, and in Zimbabwe and wherever. And we'll continue to keep following and supporting. Oh yeah, but how can people support you? That's the thing I always end off with. How can people help you? What do you need help with?
Well, if you follow the journey, it's more than help.
Right.
Help by following our pages on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube.
Sharing
on, yeah. I think you just following the journey is good enough, because we appreciate everybody who likes our stuff, everybody who shares, everybody who comments, all of that. We really appreciate it.
Amazing. Yeah. Thanks so much, my brother. Have a great day.
Yeah. Thanks a lot for having me. Appreciate it.
Ndokushaka uri confess that I had never been so jealous to feel the stress. I'm so taken by you, oh baby, I'm so taken by you. Hey, Mangwanani, Oga Oga, Hani no Muka, Nokuchaga Uripiko, baby, baby, watch your nani. Agriyevezane iko, eh, eh, ona mangwanani. Oga Oga, Bani no Muka, Nokuchaga Uripiko, baby, baby, watch your nani. Agriyevezane iko, eh, eh, ah, I'm so taken by you, baby. I'm so taken by you, honey. I'm so taken by you. Hey, lover, I'm so taken by you. Hey, yo, envision us taking a stroll, me holding your hand, we having a chat. I'm hoping that we go out again. You seem surprised, I can see by the look in your eyes. I said let's talk about it, you say you have to decide. You've been through many men, some of them you rather forget. Conscious bottles of love that left you rather upset, and now you're crying. I never made to see you shed a tear. Always brought around, but you finally notice that I care. When I'm willing to be there, what to do, give you my all, when I do, catch you when you fall. Girl, I love you, you're my African queen, the only one I see in my sweet African dreams. Mangwanani, Oga Oga, searching, searching, Mani no Muka, Nokuchaga Uripiko, baby, baby, watch your nani. Agriyevezane iko, searching, searching, Mangwanani, Oga Oga, searching, searching, Bani no Muka, Nokuchaga Uripiko, baby, baby, watch your nani. Agriyevezane iko, yeah, yeah, yeah. Every morning, 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 mamba kweza, pandino muka, yeah, ekseni.